out, the heating won't come on. Now, what are the basic checks I can do before I call you out?
Well, okay, I'm going to divide this one up into combi boiler, if you've got a combi boiler, and then after that you've got a conventional boiler with tank and roof tanks. Alright, so we're going for the combi boiler checks first. Well, very first of all, and I know it sounds pretty basic, but make sure the boiler is actually switched on and you've got power. Generally with a combi boiler, you can see there's a light there, there's a status check there, and it will tell you, and that will be a light and on. Just sometimes I've been to houses and they've had a remote switch somewhere and it's been clicked off by accident, and of course there's no power to the boiler. So very first thing, alright, that's an easy one. Second one off, make sure your controls are all set and cooling for heat. Okay, like this, the water one's on max. We like it there because you need as much heat as you can get out the tap. We know what combis are like. And also that it's cooling for heat on the radiator setting there. And make sure it's on here. You can see the boiler's off. Water and heating. And make sure it's on that star and we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, then we go for the next check. Next up, first most obvious thing, it sounds mad, the room thermostat. Now you may be thinking it feels a bit chilly, but the stat may be quite happy at that temperature. That might actually be the temperature in the room and the stat has not allowed the boiler to switch on. So sometimes it's just worth turning that stat up a few degrees higher just to get it to click on. Alright, so it's usually set at 20, 21. We're on 18 at the moment. That's just telling us the temperature in this hallway at the moment. But if it reaches 20 on here, ours will click on. This is a digital thermostat, which is why it's reading 18. If you've got the old rotary type, just click it round past, say, 22, 23, and then you know it should be cooling for heat. Many people have been caught out thinking it's not come on, but the boiler has not been cooled for heat because it's actually a little bit warmer than you might be feeling, especially for older people. They can feel the cold a lot more, as so do women. I'm sorry girls, but you do.
Alright, watch it.
And you feel colder than us men, and a lot of arguments have come around that, haven't they? We like it down lower, you like it higher. So just something to check, alright? The old fracas of, oh no, it's cold. No, it isn't, it's hot. Okay, check thermostat. So, combi boiler. There's not too much you can do without having to call in a gas safe engineer, simply because we're not really allowed to touch them if you're not gas safe proven, okay? But there is one main thing you can do, and that is to check the pressure of the boiler and see if it's at the right setting, which is generally between 1 and 1.5 bars. So I'll show you what that is now, and I'll show you the pressure that our boiler is actually on at the moment. So let's have a little look. Well, as you can see, there's my gauge. It's just dropped below 1 bar, so I'm going to push some more pressure in there because it should ideally be sort of between 1.2 and 1.5 bars, and that is usually the ideal pressure. So if I left that now, that would gradually drop over the coming months, and then the boiler would cut out once it dropped below the required pressure for the boiler to work. So I'll show you how to work the filling loop next.
Okay, so we're looking at the outside dial. It's really hard because I can't get straight on with the camera, but we're looking at the outside dial. So number 2 is effectively like midnight, 12 o'clock, and it's just below that first one. We're not looking at the inside red bar, we're looking at the black one. Okay.
Now, here is the filling loop. Don't be too disarmed, it's not too bad a job to do, anyone can do it. Now this may or may not be connected, the actual loop. A lot of times it is connected. You may just have these caps on there, and the loop might be just hanging. So all you've got to do is screw the thing on with your fingers. Okay, it's just 2 loops like that. You've got 2 valves. Okay, you can turn the first one on. Okay, nothing will go in until we turn this one. If I turn this one, you'll hear the pressure start to go in the boiler. Okay, ready? Hear that? The pressure's now going in. I'll turn it off because I need to keep an eye on the pressure gauge now and see how it goes up. So we'll show you that going up, shall we? Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm. Stop.
What's that on now?
Just drop back a bit.
Yeah, we'll drop back a bit, yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Slowly.
Stop. Just drop back a snatch.
Yeah, we'll do. It can be under 1.5.
Oh, then it's fine now because it's just under 1.5.
That's fine. Then.
There you go.
It will be fine just under because it will expand a bit when it gets hot.
It's quite hard to see with the
I see it.
corner I'm working in.
That's fine. It will drop back a bit. It will expand, I mean. It will expand when it gets hot. So it will make it up to about 1.5. That's fine. That's just an easy, simple check for you to do. Once you've finished, turn your valves back off. They're both off. Okay, and then that's it. There is a video that Jan's done on the filling loop, alright, so I had to do it. So if you're not sure, I'll give you
because I knew what you were going to do then.
I'll give you the...
I remembered.
I'll give you the link for it to fill it if you're not sure. That's that really. If it doesn't go after that, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to call the gas safe engineering. That's about it for a combi boiler. Anyway, where's my hat?
Okay, so if we haven't got a combi boiler and we've got an ordinary boiler, what would we do?
Right, well there's a lot more things you can do and check if you have an ordinary boiler with a hot water tank and a little tank aloft. We call them F&E systems, but it just stands for feed and expansion. The day before the heating was working fine, today it's not working at all. What we're going to look at. Okay, first of all, the checks that I mentioned before for the combi, make sure there's power to the boiler, make sure the room thermostat is well up, click it up to 25 if needs be to make sure it's cooling for heat. Okay, next thing, have a listen for the pump, make sure it's working, see if you can feel a vibration on it if it comes to that, make sure that pump is going. Next in line, we have what we call a three-way valve, or you may have two-way valves. They quite often, they burn out, the head burn out, and when that happens, it will stop dead. It may just be your heating or it could be the hot water, but you can get either one of those valves go or the three-way valve go, which means that it will stop dead. They're pretty simple to do. I've got a video on replacing that, as I have with pumps incidentally. I've got a video on how to replace a central heating pump if that's gone as well, okay. But if the three-way valve has gone, a way to check it is on the side of the valve you'll find a lever, a little lever. Just pull that lever across and lock it in position. That puts it into manual. Okay, it's a manual override. If your heating starts up, or your hot water for that matter, if it's the hot water that's gone, then you know that motorised valve is gone. Now you've only got to change the head in most cases, you haven't got to drain the heat out or anything. Usually it's just the head. I've got a video on how to do that if you're worried about doing that bit yourself, but 9 times out of 10 it's not the body of the valve but just the head, so we can change that. Okay. So saying that, we've tried the three-way valve, hasn't made any difference.
And how would you know it not made any difference? You've switched it back to automatic and it's still dead?
It's still dead.
Right.
If it's still dead, we know it's probably okay, alright? So next thing, just pop up in the loft and check your F&E tank. That's this little feed and expansion tank. It's a little small thing like this. It's got a ball valve in there. And quite often, especially over the summertime, that valve jams up solid where you don't use your heating, so it doesn't have to replace any water that it's used. So it stays off and gradually the level drops in the system. And so you find, especially in a domestic house, the upstairs rads start not to work anymore. You find you've got some downstairs, some upstairs not going, and it's simply because there's no water in this top part of the system. You'd know, because if you open an air valve on a radiator, you wouldn't get any air out, nor would you get any water out, because there's no water in there to push the air out. Okay, it's kind of gone status quo. So that's a simple one. Just change the roof tank valve if you find that valve is jammed off solid, because it will stick again next year. If you wiggle it, you might get water back in, but the next year it will stick again. Okay, so change that. So what next? If all else fails now, after that, I'm afraid you've got to call a gas safe engineer. Sorry guys, but we're not allowed to touch it without that gas safety ticket. Okay, you can't go getting into the gas boiler and messing around with circuit boards or the like in there. Okay.
Okay, what if it's gradually got worse and worse and worse? So first of all, upstairs was working and then that stopped working. You've checked your roof tank, you've just said just now that check it's got water in, but it's just gradually the whole central heating's getting worse and worse and worse till you've ended up with one radiator going.
Yeah, this quite often happens, and if it's a gradual slowdown like that, you find rad's not starting to work, but the tank is all full up. You've done all those checks, but you've got some heat, but not enough. You've got like the front room rad's not getting hot, and some are, some aren't. That's usually a problem with sludge build up in the system. Okay, over time sludge builds up in the pipes and the radiators and starts to block everything up. And it even can burn out those three-way valves that we talked about. Sludge can get in the motor and stop the motor turning, and hence the motor valve burns out. So this is quite a big problem, and so if you found that this has gradually got worse, your system heat is getting less and less, it's time to do some positive action, which is something again you can still do. I have videos on this. Drain the system and put in some system cleaner. On the bottle it will have the time that you leave the system cleaner in there. Tip that in your little tank in the loft, refill the system, run it for the amount of time that it says on the bottle. There's always a guide to how much time you should give it. Okay, when that time is up, you empty the system back out again, drain it out, then you refill it, but before you refill it you tip your inhibitor in that little F&E tank and then refill it with the inhibitor, the required amount that is stated on the bottle, okay, for your system. That should clean your system out, and that inhibitor will keep it running free and clear, and you should have no more problems with sludge or sludge build-up. Okay. Well, that's about it. They're the usual symptoms to have a look at, and things that ain't going to cost you an arm and a leg. Calling out a gas safe engineer straight away. Check those things first. Okay, that's about it from me. Usual place for all my stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Okay, thanks for all your help. You can have one of these now on your new gizmo that you put up on the wall.
Oh yeah, time to crack them open.